Mandan Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for December 18th to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Langing, Commissioner Huber, Commissioner Mutter,
Here.
Commissioner Horn, Mayor Freilich,
Here.
Commissioner Infeld,
Here.
Commissioner McLean,
Here.
Commissioner Bookmiller,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Hammond,
Here.
Commissioner Gardner,
Here.
Chair Robinson.
Here. Next item is consideration of the minutes from our November 25th meeting. Any changes or questions?
I can move to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of November 25th. Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Bookmiller. Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Mutter,
Here. Or yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Bookmiller,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And minutes are approved. We'll move on to the first of our public hearings. Item number 1, consider a request for final plat for JR's Estate Second Edition. Andrew?
Good evening, Chair Robinson and Commissioners. The Planning Department received this application from Arlen Ruff and Lorraine Bryan and Swanberg Morton LLP. The request is a preliminary plat for the JR's Estate Second Edition. The location map is on your screen. We are west of Mandan, west of Low Strader Road, northwest. The purpose of this, it was brought to you as a preliminary plat in November, and as a reminder, the purpose of this is to facilitate a small ownership transfer that took place between the two landowners.
Excuse me, I can barely hear you.
So the two landowners that were involved in this property transaction are Arlen Ruff and Lorraine Bryan and Swanberg Morton. Roughly 3,000 square feet was transferred from Swanberg to Ruff Bryan, and this plat is the instrument that's being used to restore those into whole, intact parcels. So Lot 1 increased by size to the tune of about 2,500 square feet, and given the acreage of the larger field west, it was routed through the preliminary and final plat or full plat process. It's 51.23 acres in size, 2 lots in 1 block, all zoned R7 residential with residential development on the east side and rural land uses on the west. I've included findings related to the plat review, and our recommendation is to approve JR's Estates. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Andrew?
Andrew, this is the same plat as the preliminary plat, and there's been no amendments or anything, correct?
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Smith, that's correct. No changes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Andrew? I'll have you step up. We'll open it up for public comment here in a little bit, so I'll have you step up then. Any questions from the commission? With none, at this time I'll open it up and open up for questions or comments from anybody in the room or online.
I guess I'd like to know what the effects are specifically naming this as a JR Estates. Does that mean increased taxes? Is it going to be a gated community, or what kind
I'll
of
have you
changes
state your
like
name
that?
for the record, please.
What's that?
I'll have you state your name for the record, please.
Oh, my name is Colleen Bame, and I live on Bruley Road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Colleen, for the questions. Are you able to hear me all right? Yes. Okay, terrific. JR's Estates Second is being named as such as the property involved in the plat was named JR's Estates. And typically when subdivisions are further altered or replatted, as is the case for this project, they follow the similar naming convention. So JR's Estates having been approved back in 2007, the next addition or alteration to this property would follow in naming and be JR's Estates Second. This project is not going to lead to any real estate development activities. There is no construction that will take place because of this subdivision's approval. There would be no change to property values or the amount that any individual pays in property taxes based on any action taken related to this subdivision. It's kind of a housekeeping item that's being done to facilitate a real estate transaction that took place between the involved parties. So one party gave someone land, and this is redrawing what the properties look like after that took place. And just to emphasize, no development, no construction will take place because of JR's Estates. You almost wouldn't know what happened if it wasn't here this evening. Does that address your question?
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on item number 1? Again, comments or questions on item number 1? With none, I'll close public comment and return it back to the commission.
I can move to recommend approval of the final plot for JR Estates Second Edition.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner McLean and second by Commissioner Huber. Motion is to recommend approval of the final plat for JR's Estates Second Edition. Any questions? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Munner,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Bookmiller,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And motion is passed. We'll move on to item number 2. Consider a request for a special use permit for Discovery Kids Child Care Center. Andrew?
Chair Robinson and Commissioners, I do have a location map on the screen as well for this project. This is a request from Ashley and Stephen Featherston. They are Discovery Properties is their party, and they are proposing to open Discovery Kids Child Care Facility. The building is in East Mandan. It's immediately to the west of the Culver's fast food restaurant on East Main Street. That's the location that they're looking at. It's in our CA commercial zoning district, and the land use plan recommends commercial uses on this property going forward. Childcare has been identified as a commercial use within our zoning regulations. The intended childcare facility would be licensed for up to 249 childcare slots. As I understand childcare licensing, once the facility is fit out, furnished, altered, they do another measurement later on, and the number of licensed spaces is most likely going to reduce from that point. That's what they're starting with, however, for licensure per the state of North Dakota guidelines, for which a formal license is required to be issued. Their project at a whole includes some interior modifications, installation of fire sprinklers, the creation of an exterior fenced play area, improvements to the parking lot striping, which will help with traffic flow, some access adjustments to promote safe and controlled access to the site from East Main Street. A lot of these do relate to the minimum licensing requirements that are in place for childcare. Like I said, these require both state and city licensing to be able to open. A little bit of history on the property. It appears to have been constructed in the 1970s. It's changed uses over the years. It had a renovation done in 2020 as it converted to a youth therapy building, and this is what's being proposed for it now. They are special uses, so they kind of are evaluated through all of our general special use evaluative criteria, as well as some that are specific to childcare. In section 105.1.13 D6, a favorable recommendation for a special use may be made when they comply with the plan, in this case commercial use in a commercial district, plan for commercial use that complies. The use does maintain consistency with our zoning regulations. It appears able to achieve the operational restrictions that are necessary. It appears to have minimal impact on adjacent property and comply with applicable regulations. It would not result in alteration or destruction of scenic, natural, or historic features, and it includes what's necessary for buffers and accessibility. The specific childcare use standards that we have once we make it through that screen are state approval, 35 square feet of interior play area per child, which mirrors state regulations, 75 feet of exterior play area per child outside at a time, which mirrors state regulations. This would not cater to adults, so that criteria is just kind of looked past. The property appears to be able to accommodate the minimum number of parking spaces required for staff and drop-off, and that drop-off be in a demarcated separate area from required parking. As I stated in the report, this property does appear to be able to meet all of the requirements that are in place for a child care facility. We did notice this item as a special use. We sent 31 letters to adjoining property owners and had it advertised in the Mandan News as required. The properties to the east, west, and north are in our CA commercial district, and to the south is right-of-way in the interstate and Main Street. We do have some conditions outlined for approval. Perhaps maybe before I get to those, I can show you some images of the property and some other useful information as well. This is the building that they are looking at. This would be looking at it from the east. This would be looking at it from the southwest, looking towards the east. And this would be looking at it from the south. You can see an adjacent residence to the west of the building, separated by about 30 feet of open space on this property and an access easement. So probably a good 80 or so feet between the two buildings. And this is just a look at the area from our oblique camera. So that is the property that we are looking at for this item. In your packet as well are some submittals that were provided by the applicant that relate to the general evaluative criteria that we have for special use permits and their statements related to those. I did include a draft of the special use permit. We are recommending approval of this facility for a special use permit for childcare, with conditions of approval being that we receive our state license for our records. One of the items, the fire sprinklers may require a shared use agreement for shared private infrastructure. The building to the north has a fire sprinkler system, and they would like to tie into that line, and we'd like to have those shared, and formally kind of formalized maintenance, long-term issues come up and can be addressed using those. We do have a condition that modifying the site's access using some sort of vertical element. This is something that's coming from our engineering department, where I think we're all aware that intersection, if we rebuilt it, we would maybe do it different. But we're also aware that it can be very difficult to attract and retain childcare in a community, and this is a circumstance that we're willing to work with the applicants on. Our hope is to be able to let the facility open and respond as necessary if there are any concerns around the operations of the intersection of Twin City Drive and Main. We're not expecting anything crazy, But we do think that controlling and kind of channelizing the access to this property to be as far west as practical will help with kind of the safe and predictable access to this property. So that's what that modification to the site access is speaking to in the conditions. We are requesting an opaque fence along the western boundary of the outdoor play area, which would be constructed on the south end of the building. We are requesting the limiting of children outside to 15 at a time. That may need to go down or up based on square footage. 15 was used for the other child care center that's in this area as well. And just used it as a jumping off point based on the 75 per square feet or 75 square feet per child. That number may reduce if their outdoor play area is not that large, if that makes sense. And this property does need to preserve access to the building to the north. One of the criteria for this property on the Eastwood Acres fourth plat from the 1970s was that it maintain access to that building that's currently used as the cornhole property. So I do have the draft special use permit in the packet that includes those conditions of approval. And with those in mind, our recommendation is to approve. This is a public hearing as well. So do you have any questions for me? The applicants are here as well.
Questions for Andrew?
I have two questions, Mr. Chairman. One is there still anything that limits a facility that would have a liquor license to be within so many feet or distance in relation to childcare, being that we have the pre-existing use of there being a little pub inside the cornhole facility?
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Huber, I would have to double check to see if there are any conflicts there. I am aware that there was a change to the liquor license to that property, so we can take a look at that.
That was just one item, and then this is probably more in the bailiwick of the Architectural Review Commission, but just curious if you know where the proposed outdoor fenced-in play area will be.
Yes. Chair Robinson, Commissioners, if I may, on the screen, this hasn't been fully brought through all the city's channels to look at, but I do have a submitted kind of site plan schematic, and they are proposing to construct to the south of the facility. So as you look at it from the road, it would be obscured by the row of pine trees that are there, but that's where they are proposing it to go.
Questions for Andrew?
Andrew, I'm going to, maybe this should be for the owners instead, but can you give us a little more detail of how their traffic flow will be like for being down there?
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Mutter, I would prefer to let them kind of speak to that as well. However, within the attachment in your packet related to additional submittals, they are planning for the facility to be open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we've spoke with them, and as we understand, the childcare kind of has some rolling drop-offs, rolling pickups. Different people take vacations at different times, so it's rare that they're ever at their full occupancy, just given people have different things that come up in their life, sick days, whatnot. So, but feel free to ask them as well.
Andrew, just one more question for you. You said you sent letters out to the neighbors. Was there any response back from them at all with concerns at all?
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Infeld, I checked with Nancy today and we did not receive any comments in advance of tonight's meeting.
Any other questions? With none, at this time, I'll open it up for public comment, and we are taking comments or questions on item number 2. So if there's anybody online or in the room that would have comments or questions. Item number 2 on the special use permit. Commissioner Mutter, did you get your question answered? Okay.
Questions that you have, yeah.
I'll have you step forward, please.
Stephen Featherston, Discovery Properties.
My name is Ashley Featherston.
So I'd say one of the concerns that we're looking at that intersection and the traffic flow heading in there, we have culverts, which is probably the primary source of traffic in there, which was our primary concern, kind of looking at where we'd be doing those drop-offs. One thing we want to do in order to mitigate an interruption of their exit flow traffic that's going from the drive-through heading straight on there is that we want to build we'd have a contractor come in and do a fencing of a type there to separate our space, our parking area from the culvert's exit traffic, and in a way that has some staggered fencing so you can still see through it, because we also have concerns of a blind spot there too as well. So a couple extra bits there when we just look at peak operating hours like we were touching on a little bit earlier. Ours were, you're saying 6:30?
7 a.m., yep. 7 to 6, and so Culver's doesn't open until 10 o'clock, so we kind of are missing that. Send It, doesn't open until later in the evening as well, so that morning traffic should not be too terrible. I would say Culver's probably picks up about the same time that parent pickup is, but we intend to have spaces for parent pickup, and like Andrew said, having them come out as far on the west side as possible so that they're coming into the street. I know it's not an ideal situation the way that's set up, but I feel like any business that goes into that building is going to have traffic coming in and out of the parking lot. And so at some point, there will be congestion in that area, for a brief period of time. But with as quick as the pickup and drop-offs are, it really shouldn't get too backed up coming out of that parking lot. It's usually a quick 5-10 minute max inside with your child, get them settled, and most people are out the door to get on their way to work, so.
My second question is, I guess because it's wintertime, where you guys have plans of for snow removal, or are you going to work with cornhole people, or do you guys have talked about that?
Oh yeah, we would have set up for snow removal. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Can I ask you guys one question too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you guys have a conversation with Culver's already? Have you talked to them, the owners of that? Just because I know that their drive-through, I think their second lane is actually on your property.
It is, yes.
So I don't know, have you had a conversation if you're putting a fence up there? Do they know that, or have you?
We have not had a conversation with them yet. We were looking into seeing if there was an easement in place first, which it doesn't look like there is. So that would probably be the next step, to speak with them.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just for clarity's sake, if I understand correctly, you'd be the tenant of the property, and so the landlord or the owners of the property, any agreement would be probably between.
We would be the owner and the tenant. Yep. So yes, our Discovery Properties we own as well, and so we would be the tenant. It's just separated for liability purposes. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, just real quick here, I'm sorry. And he brought it up, because I had this conversation last week.
Mm-hmm.
As far as fencing, do you know how far, is there any rule or regulation how far back, maybe this for Andrew more than anybody else, for how close we can be to that road for their fence? Thank you.
Do you have a rule for that, Andrew?
Commissioners, I think we're well protected with the special use permitting to review the changes pretty holistically. So if we see any site issues or aesthetic issues with the proposed fence material, we'll be sure to call them out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on item number 2? I'll go one last time on item number 2. With none, I'll close public comment and return it back to the commission.
Chair Robinson, I'd move to recommend approval of the special use permit for Discovery Kids Child Care Center for Lot 5, Block 1, Eastwood Acres, 4th edition, with the conditions provided in the staff report.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gardner, second by Commissioner Smith. Motion is to recommend approval of the special use permit for Discovery Kids Child Care Center for Lot 5, Block 1, Eastwood Acres, 4th edition, with the conditions provided in the staff report. Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And motion is passed. Move on to public hearing number 3 and consider HRTWC preliminary plat. Andrew?
Chair Robinson, Commissioners, this is a request from the State of North Dakota Department of Corrections to plat the property for the proposed, well, I shouldn't say proposed, the Women's Transformational Center that will be under construction here very soon. I got my location map up on the screen. The area to be platted is entirely hashed over. They are submitting a application for a zone change, things kind of following different review schedules with different notes being provided to different folks along the way. But this is the property to be platted into one lot for the women's facility. It's currently in our ag district, and the land use plan has it called out for public uses to take place on it. A little bit of history with this. I believe in 2022, the state appropriated funds to construct the women's facility on this property. It is moving to Mandan from New England, North Dakota. The proposed facility would house up to 260 female inmates in its current size iteration. The plat is included in your report. HRWTC is an abbreviation of Heart River Women's Transformational Center. It gets kind of long to be typing all the time, so they did request it to be shortened over at Morgan County for indexing purposes. 3 lots are being combined into one. Auditor's Lot E, D, and the balance of the property would be combined into an 86.9 acre, 1 lot, 1 block subdivision. Really the only major easement that you see on it right now would be the electrical easement that's on it. We do also have an aerial and site plan overlay included in your packet. In this example, north is going to be on your left and east is on the top. I'm not able to rotate on here. This isn't really up for the board's review, but it's more of just a generalization of where the proposed facility is going to be constructed and some of the elements of it. So it primarily lies to the west of the developed Youth Correctional Center property. And this is all of it here would be all fenced in and accessed primarily from Highway 6. It's an important note given the railroad crossing going up to Highway 10. They don't want deliveries or regular access to be going up to the north. They would prefer them to go out to Highway 6 at the shared access point between the facility and USDA. Property's been developed for quite some time. Have that in my notes here. We are anticipating that as this project continues to develop, there may be additional easements shown on the final plat that kind of memorialize the location of sewer infrastructure, water infrastructure. So those are some things that we may see on future versions as this item returns for final plat approval. I noted this, the zoning issue, they are going to include a zone change. Once properties are combined, they have to be in one zoning district for city regulations. I noted the change from Heart River Women's Transformational Center addition to HRWTC. We are working with the State Department regarding the utility servicing plan. No formal commitments have been made at this point. We're just looking to understand how they're proposing to work with our municipal sewer system. This property is on sewer, and it is on city water as well, and it was entirely annexed in April of this year. Kind of half of it was in, half of it was out prior to, and given the site is receiving municipal services and the developers wanted to kind of streamline and understand their jurisdictions better, we did annex them in. I have that ordinance in the packet as well. This will be redone. The legal description will hopefully be redone to reflect just HRWTC edition rather than the long beats and bounds description that we have in there right now. Our recommendation is to approve the preliminary plat for HRWTC edition with the following condition: that the zone change be complete and the utility servicing plan be approved by the city. Do you have any questions for me? And representation from the applicant is online.
Questions for Andrew?
I've got one since I've been listening to it, and I don't know if Jordan can help me out with this. Do we have to worry? I noticed on Lot E, it's by the Heart River. Do we have to worry anything about dike or trench toe or anything like that on that side of the river? Thank you.
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Mutter.
I can probably answer that.
Yeah,
the best, but not clearly. So that levee is part of the Heart River or Lower Heart flood protection system. The improvements that are proposed right now are on the city side of the river. That levee over there is part of the Sunny Unit, and what Lower Heart calls a Sunny Unit, and the Sunny Unit is not up for any improvements in this process. So if something comes up, it would be as the project progresses.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chair Robinson, I would also add that the new facility is what I would say is high and dry, so no concerns.
Typically what we would be looking for would be proposed excavation or stormwater ponds or buildings to be placed within an area around the levees. In this case, they're offset over 1,000 feet from that. So what we've enacted as our game buffer overlay district wouldn't apply in this case.
Any other questions for Andrew? With none, at this time I'll open it up for public comments or questions. Taking comments or questions on item number 3. Again, if we have anybody online or in the room taking questions or comments on item number 3. I'll call one last time. With none, I'll close public comment and return it back to the commission.
Chair Robinson, Commissioners, I move to approve the preliminary plat for HRTWC edition with the conditions presented by staff.
I can second it with a comment that HRTWC is a terrible name for a plot.
Motion by Commissioner Bookmiller, second by Commissioner McLean. Motion is to approve the preliminary plat for HRT WC addition with the conditions presented by the staff. Any questions?
Just wanted to ask for the record, were there any comments or submitted in advance of tonight's meeting as it went out to property owners in the area?
Commissioners, yes, no comments were received prior to the meeting. We did notice this as required, and I believe 41 letters were sent for this one.
Commissioner, I had one thing I'll just note. This is a little nostalgic for me, but my hometown is New England, so moving this facility here was a kind of heartbreaking for my hometown. And when it first moved to New England, there was a lot of ruckus about moving a prison to us, actually to my grade school where I went to school and as a kid in my Catholic school. And since then, my mom, she fought it, and she's online now watching. She's gonna miss it a lot because she ministered to the prisoners there. So I guess anybody who's concerned about it, I guess it was a good thing for New England. So benefit for here.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Again, the motion to is recommend approval for the preliminary plat for HRT WC addition with the conditions presented by the staff. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. And motion is passed. A couple of year-end things left under other business. Anything else, Andrew?
No, other than those, the first item that we do have is the appointment of chair, vice chair, and secretary right now. Obviously, Chair Robinson, you are our chair. Jamie McLean is our vice chair, and Nancy is our secretary. Typically, we have some discussion and let you guys kind of run that. We do need all three to be filled. So if you have any questions for us, but feel free to kind of discuss for yourselves for next year.
Well, there was some heavy-handed discussion before the meeting, so I will. I'll start in line and.
We decided Chair Robinson really didn't have a choice, so I guess I'd move that Chair Robinson continue to serve as chairman for 2025.
Second.
And before we move on, any other nominations? With none, I'll close. Recommendation is for myself, Bill Robinson, to be chair in 2025. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed, and we'll move on to vice chair. Again, presently, Jamie McLean is vice chair. Are you able, willing?
I'm able and willing, yes.
I'll move that Jamie McLean be vice chair.
I'll second.
Any other nominations? With none, we have a nomination for Jamie McLean to be vice chair. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. And then for secretary. Nancy, still on board?
I'll make the motion that Nancy stays the secretary.
Any other nominations?
Sure, Andrew doesn't want to do it? No.
With no further nominations, I'll close, and all in favor of Nancy remaining as secretary, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Another year, Nancy. And then, next topic, schedule for 2025 meeting scheduled dates. Probably one or two items to discuss. May 26th is Memorial Day.
Yes, commissioners, I can, on the screen I pulled them up here. I think we noted that as one to discuss an alternate for.
If there's an alternate, would it be Wednesday?
Yeah, we would like to try and keep it in that week if we could.
Can we look at May 28th instead of the 21st, just because of school for maybe just, and Will too. I still got a couple.
I think we can do that.
And I think the other one, because it is the week of Christmas, is the 22nd probably is a little easier to accept than the Memorial Day one. But I'll take comments if different feelings.
So if we were doing it, we're looking at the 17th if we were to switch it? May?
For December,
December.
December 17th.
I prefer to keep it where it's at.
Keep it on Monday the 22nd.
That one doesn't bother me. I like the 28th and the 17th. As long as you bring me my Christmas present.
I'm going by feel for consensus here. 28th in May, month of May. That's a Wednesday.
Yep.
And keep the Monday the 22nd in December. Is that
You can make that motion if you want. Chair Robinson?
Yep, I'll take a motion.
Well, with that change to May 28th, and the schedule otherwise remains the same.
So that'd be the fourth Monday of each month, excluding the month of May, which would be December, or May the 28th, Wednesday. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Smith, to approve the 2025 meeting scheduled date. Only change noted would be the week of May 26th, so Wednesday the 28th. With no questions, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. And motion is passed. With nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.